Welcome, everyone, to this live broadcast. Your brother from another mother is going to be addressing questions, all things related to relationship OCD. There are a pile of them. I'm going to dig through them and get into the trenches with you, talk through the struggle, talk through the battle, and encourage you, provide some insight, provide some equipping so you can navigate this. You don't have to let it keep you and hold you back from the potential in your life. We'll get started in just a moment. Your brother from another mother, Mark DeJesus. It's a sunny, bright day, but I'm making my way to you to talk all things relationship OCD. This is the official third broadcast addressing questions arriving around this subject to provide some healing and freedom insights for your life, for your journey, all things mental, emotional, and relationship health, but specifically obsessive-compulsive battles regarding romance, what that looks like and how you can begin navigating it with a healthier lens. We're here to do this, so let's get ready. Welcome, everyone, to this broadcast. Here, Mark DeJesus, your brother from another mother, bringing you insights along the way. Welcome to the Healing and Freedom Journey, where I talk about mental, emotional, and relationship health and encouraging believers to experience more and more of that in their lives. Some of it takes aspects of healing. Some of it takes aspects of experiencing new levels of freedom. And there's some growth and maturity along the way. I'm the author of the book, The OCD Healing Journey. And so much of what I'm sharing and talking about branches off of the journey that I invite you into. And if you battle with this area that I'm going to talk about and get into today, you need to get a copy of The OCD Healing Journey. As of right now, I am teaching on the chapter on relationship OCD in the Healing and Freedom community, where I have an extended long-form course on the OCD healing journey that I'm teaching for those that are in that community. And we also host regular Q&As. Right now, we're having them weekly, which is great. I'm doing that for the summer. And every week we're gathering together, and the recordings of those Q&As are also made available to the community members. And it gives me a chance to interact even more personally with things that people are struggling, navigating, and battling through. If these broadcasts are a blessing, do me a favor, click that like button, click the subscribe button. That will help, and put the notification bell, because when I do broadcast live, it's going to let you know, hey, Mark's going live. I try to let people know ahead of time. As I mentioned Sunday, I mentioned that I was going to be probably doing a live today, and Lord willing, the creek didn't rise. It's happening. But there are times where I just go, hey, I want to do a live, and I may just pop on, and because I do have stacks and stacks and stacks of questions, they get very thick at times. So I placed a whole folder of just relationship OCD related stuff. So I'm going to get into that. Hopefully my mixing board will cooperate today. If it doesn't, I will figure it out and sometimes do a little standby kind of thing where I will take care of things behind the scenes and get it back working again. We'll figure it out. Either way. But if you want to submit a question, you can go ahead and do that. markdejesus.com/questions. Just do me a favor. And I wrote this on the question page. It's good to just ask yourself, is this something he's addressed before? Is this something he's talked about before? Because I have talked about many of the topics that people write into and ask questions about. You can go over to my website and the topics page. You can search in the website too. There's a little search thing. But even if you're wondering, has he covered this topic, and you don't know how to go into my website and hit the search, just go into your browser, type Mark DeJesus, and type the topic. And Google and YouTube and whatever browser you use usually does a pretty good job of pulling up videos that I've done around that subject. So today we're going to get into some more things. Relationship OCD. I will keep an eye out for super chats if you have a question. I did notice as I was getting the broadcast set up and just checking all the levels and everything, somebody asked, is there relationship OCD that's not romantic? Now, it mainly affects romance because it's a very uncertain journey of making a commitment, taking a risk, moving from dating, courting to engagement to marriage. And so that's why that's the most common area. Can you have that in just everyday relationships, friendships? Yeah, you can. And I have a separate chapter I did in the OCD healing journey on where OCD gets into communication. And that's more where I direct people into, where you overthink conversations, you overthink things, you're compulsive about trying to fix conversations or fix relationships, and you can certainly have that impact how you interact day to day. I found too that in my journey as I grew in parenting, I noticed some of those perfectionistic, obsessive-compulsive patterns wanting to get into how I relate to my children, how I parent them, the pressure that I carry, overthinking certain things. And a lot of it, if I lay it all out for you, many of you parents would go, I get it. But it was also another layer of me working through obsessive-compulsive patterns in my life, as I'm always allowing the healing journey to happen. It's never a destination. It's a continual process. And if you invite the continual process, it will be less burdensome on you. Okay, so with that said, feel free to send in super chats. And I saw one, a gifted membership. Andy, thank you so much. That's great. And I'll keep an eye out, take some breaks here and there, and saddle up, folks. We're going to take a little bit of a journey. I don't know how many I got here, but we'll see what we'll navigate through. The first one isn't so much a question as just a comment. Somebody who has been listening to my materials for years. She wrote, Uncle Mark. Some people call me Brother Mark, Uncle Mark, brother from another mother. As long as Mark is in there somewhere. That's. I remember when I was working at a church, and people would say, "What do you want me to call you?" And I'd say, "Well, my parents named me Mark, so as long as Mark is in there, so I know who you're talking to. That's really all that's needed." Anyway, she wrote, "The relationship OCD specific lives are so helpful. I think it addressed singleness issues people gloss over, like telling people they're not content enough in God alone if they desire relationship." Correct. Many believers feed that if you desire to be married, then you don't love God enough. Or if you desire to have friends, or if you are lonely and you're looking for a relationship, that's an evil, bad desire. It means you don't love God enough. Now, we can certainly be needy in relationship, and we can become obsessive in that way. Let me explain two kinds of obsession that relationship OCDers need to be aware of. The first one is the obsession of OCD in relationship, meaning that you have a lot of intrusive thoughts that creates a lot of disturbance in maybe I'm with the wrong person, or maybe there's this flaw, we're incompatible, so forth. There's also the obsession where you're just constantly thinking about someone and it's too much. You're like too much. You need to just calm down, throttle it down, and just take one step at a time. Because that's more what we talk about, cultural obsession, right? Like, I'm obsessed with this TV show. But he's like, yeah, I just want to keep watching it, right? That gets more when we start acting like addicts to things. With OCD, though, that's not exactly what obsession means. Obsession means you're having these like intrusive thoughts. You're having these constant questioning. Am I with the right one? Is this the right one? Your spinning creates a lot of anxiety, something I battled with incredibly badly and needed a lot of help. And thank God there is help if you'll just allow the journey to take its journey and keep learning and keep growing, because we actually grow in relationship. There's a mentality that gets perpetuated in the body of Christ that you grow with God with just you and God. There's a song we used to sing back in the 90s, you're all I want, you're all I've ever needed. And I get it, I appreciate it, but it's incomplete. No, God designed you to be in relationship. He looked at Adam in the beautiful perfection of the garden and said, it's not good that you're alone. So if God would say that in that context, when he looks at you and your struggles with feeling lonely, God sees it. He knows it. Now it's a journey. It's not like friendships are just you snap your fingers and it just happens and opens up. I know for me, I had the addict obsession, moving too fast. I got to, just fall in love and oh my goodness, right? And I had to balance that out. And I found for me, I'm not giving you a script here, but I found for me, I was beginning a healing journey and I made the decision, okay, God, this dating thing, I'm putting way too much pressure. I'm trying too hard. So I'm going to give this desire to you, knowing in due time, I'll just be open. And it was within a period of time where then opportunity for Melissa and I to meet and that relationship began to move forward. It took place and happened. But that was then a deeper phase when her and I got together. That was a deeper phase of me now having to work over the OCD disturbance obsession. Are you following what I'm saying? Because there's the aspect that many of you have where you're trying too hard and you fall in love with someone overnight and you follow a very infatuated addict kind of pattern. And don't judge yourself and beat yourself up over it. It happens. You can follow it. You feel like you're falling in love, and puppy love, they used to call it. When I was a youth pastor, sometimes parents would say, my kids think they're in love. It's puppy love. And I tell them, well, just to remind you, puppy love seems like love to a puppy. But as the puppy grows, hopefully things can mature there. Okay. So I had to work on both aspects of that addict, this dream, amazing thing, right? And it's still like, calm down, because many people in relationships, they try so hard. Now, some of you in that, you recognize that pattern and you go black and white, meaning I got to give up all relationships and be by myself, and then God's going to heal me. And then, no, it doesn't work like that. God actually works in your life through many of the relationship interactions that you develop over time. Some new, some you haven't met yet. There's people that you haven't met yet. You're going to meet. There's people that you're going to meet in the sense of seeing them online or reading their books. There are many people that I've read their books or materials. If I met them in person, I'd be like, thank you. What you wrote really helped my journey. And many people say that to me. It's a real honor. But then there's also actual people that actually relate to you and actually interact with you that are going to be a blessing. I've learned so much how to love and be loved in my relationship with Melissa. And we both made a decision. We both want to heal and grow and mature and deal with our stuff and work through it, navigate through it. And that's something that we've held on to, the both of us, throughout the journey. And so I didn't learn how to love and then pursue relationship. And many people do that. Should I break up and not date anyone until I get all this healed? And it's like, no, you actually need to practice. Now, if you've had a very severe breakup, or there's been a divorce, or there's things like this thing you need time to heal through, you've been dating somebody for a while and there was a tragic breakup. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend the next day, going out on a date again. But many OCDers believe the lie that I got to get all this fixed and then I got to get all this fixed and then we believe that lie. I got to get all this better and then. I have people that they're teachers or they're leaders or they're even involved in ministry. Like, I got to get all this stuff fixed and then I can. Really? Do you? Now I know there's if you're a teacher, there's certain qualifications you need to have. If you're a pastor, there's certain qualifications you need to have, right? And so forth. But we get under this perfectionistic pressure, we feel like we need to get it just right and then move forward. No, you actually need to learn and grow in the practice of relationship. Anyway, I appreciate this note because she said there's a trend of Christians saying you need to be put in isolation to be spiritual, like a spiritual quarantine, or that once you don't want something, God will give it to you, which sounds like avoidance to me. Like if I don't desire anything, I'll look more spiritual than people that have desires, and I won't be disappointed. It's an interesting point. So let me get into all things questions of relationship OCD. Let's talk about sex and relationship OCD, premarital sex and relationship OCD. I've been having a lot of conflict lately over the idea that God wouldn't want me to marry someone that I've had premarital sex with. Okay, so you're dating somebody, you've had sex with them, and you're going, well, maybe God wouldn't want us to get married. Now, many times when people are struggling, I remember in my pastoring when I would sit down with couples and they would talk about their struggling. Many times I would look at their timeline and go, when are you getting married? And it'd be like, in a year and a half. Like a year and a half? You're going to wait that long? You're going to put a lot of pressure on yourself. And you're going to feel bad and guilty because you went too far physically and struggle. Why not help? And there were many times where I said, just as a suggestion, do you want to bring this in a little bit? Because usually it was like, well, we need to get enough money. And I'm like, I get that, but many people for generations and generations got married with the clothes they had on their back. That was about all they owned, or they say, we want to get all the perfect venue and this and that. Okay. And some people even said, you know what? We'll get married and then we'll have a celebration. If you need to plan something out for a celebration, have the celebration. But it's like, before God, we want to make this covenant. It's just a thought. It's just a thought. Sometimes we get in these things, and then our timeline on the relationship is so long, and you're wanting to be physical with each other, and that's a good thing. But we want to get it into covenant context. Anyway, me and my boyfriend have been dating for a year now. We are definitely planning for marriage. So let's make it happen, Captain. Let's make it happen. But you've slipped up, so now you're going into OCD, and what OCD is saying is, I got to fix this. In order to fix this, then I have to cancel this relationship. Many people that have relationship OCD would do this. They're in the broadcast, I think it was the last broadcast, there was a sister who, she got pregnant. And so constant, compulsive, I shouldn't even, so she made the decision to get married and wanted to get married, but also had this OCD. Maybe I shouldn't, I'm disobeying God. She's compulsively trying to go back and erase history and fix things. And so that's a part of what's going on here. And we recently decided we should pursue celibacy until marriage. Way to go, that's great. That's great. And go before God together. God, forgive us. We repent for this. We're going to do our best to walk in new patterns and new ways. We're going to deal with how we relate to sex, intimacy. We want to treasure this thing and step forward in new steps. Receive that forgiveness. Forgive yourself and take new steps forward. Okay. Now that we have made that decision together, I've had a lot of inner turmoil about whether or not God would even want us to get married if we sinned against each other like that. And not only our past together, but our past before each other. Okay, so you've had some sexual past as well, too, that you're working through and healing through. It's been plaguing my mind, and I keep praying, God, if it's in your will, prayer, that's going to leave you in unproductive cycles. Because you're going, God, if it's in your will, and you want like some external voice to come down and tell you,
yes, it is. It is in my will, my perfect will.
You're looking for that, that kind of voice to show up and give you that confirmation, when really it's a decision to move forward. And yeah, relationships are messy. There's things that happen. There's things that you have to work through and navigate through. And this is something the two of you will need to work through together. And maybe sit down with your pastor or somebody that's a healthy leader. And can you help us just walking through this and navigate healthy steps forward? Which keeps causing me to, God, if it's your will, prayer, which keeps causing me to search for signs and overanalyze situations. That's your compulsion. The compulsion is to, God, if it's your will, and then you look for a sign. I saw the sign, and it opened up my eyes. I saw the sign, right? You're looking for, I saw a truck go by. I said, I'm with the wrong person. Oh, that's God speaking to me. You drove down the street. And down the street, there's a sign that says, Turn around. Oh, that's maybe me. I need to turn around. Oh, this street is called another way. Maybe that's kind of, so we start getting super superstitious. And then you start overanalyzing, you start comparing your boyfriend, you start doing all these compulsive checkings. I love my boyfriend a lot, so move forward. But my ROCD has begun to take a large toll on me and my connection with him. I keep having these intense feelings to break up. That's a compulsion. That's one of the most common compulsions, right? And that it's God's voice. Also, if we have any disagreements or he does something I may like, I start to question. That's your avoidance. That's your avoidance of the messy, not messiness. It's just more the stuff you got to work through in relationships. You have an argument, you have a disagreement. You got to figure it out. There's an avoidance of that. Because there's a this has got to be perfect. Everything's got to feel perfect. So I start to question if it's the sign I ask God for, which is cause intense anxiety. Well, my advice is stop looking for signs. That's a dangerous pathway. It's unhealthy. It's unhealthy to look for signs or to give credit to signs or I saw the sign. Yeah, that let go of that compulsion. And I'd get some OCD help and look at my materials, resources, but get some obsessive-compulsive help of some kind. Also, if we have any disagreements, he does something I may like, I start to question if it's a sign I ask God for, which has caused intense anxiety. I feel so alone and confused. What's my OCD and what could be real? The question, is this OCD or is this real, is not a good question to necessarily dive into. Because it's like somebody saying, are these thoughts real or are they not? What does that even mean? So the thing is that you have obsessive compulsive patterns. So you have to realize it will infect everything. Many relationship OCDers go, if I could just get this healed, I will be so happy. I felt that too. I could just get this one because it just ruins my day and my life. Well, I did notice as I started to get victory, it was pitching a fit and it would transfer to other subjects. So that's why you're needing equipping in how to handle all your thoughts in a new way and get out of this. Is this OCD or is this God? Is this OCD or is this real? These thoughts real? Are they this? Are they that? We create these questions that lead to nowhere. So be sure to go ahead and check out my OCD help page and get into some of those broadcasts. They're all organized there. Great place to start. All right. So this one is about someone who doesn't really see a future with you. Hi, you mentioned before that you don't question if they are the one and choose to love unconditionally. How do you love someone unconditionally when they don't see a future with you? That's interesting. How do you love someone unconditionally when they don't see a future with you? So this person, you're trying to love them, but they don't see a future together, then move on. Move on. This isn't about, you're not chained, in this journey, you decide and then you commit to that decision. But if you're seeing this person's not interested, it's time to move on. Move on. It's like,
move on before I make you move on. Do you need me to slap you with my chunk glove? It's time to move on, girl. Please.
When do we know when it's time to let go? Well, if the person doesn't see anything moving forward, it's time to let go. What would be the best step to start working on my relationship anxiety and OCD about this relationship I'm in? Now, you're in a relationship with somebody who's told you don't see a future? Goodness. And I do think that there is a place where when somebody else is non-committal, even if that other person, I've told some of the people I've coached, I'm like, listen, the person that you're dating right now, they're very, very patient with you. But I think you could be bordering on taking advantage of their patience with you, where you're prolonging. You see, Melissa was very, very patient with me. Very, very patient. But I had to be sober about that and treasure that. And take steps forward. That's the same thing with God, is we have this beautiful grace and his love that's here. And I need to grasp it and start taking steps of faith because this beautiful treasure has been given to me. And so when you're with somebody, even if they're OCD, if they're not working on things and you see this just constant limbo that they live in relationally, you may have to have a conversation that says, listen, are you going to work on this or not? Because I'm not going to be in this limbo forever. Take a step. And this person is saying they're not interested. And it's like, don't sit under this. Don't stay with this and let it just continue to devalue you. A lot of us have unworthiness and self-hatred issues. And we put up with abuse and we put up with nonsense and we put up because we don't see ourselves in a place of love. So therefore we stay under. That's why people stay in abusive relationships. It's why people stay in just really unhealthy, toxic relationships. It all goes back to how you see yourself. And okay, so how do we tell if this person is it this person or me? And when are we trying to heal our relationship OCD to tell the person is not for us? So anyway, if the person has told you and they don't see a future with you, move on. Move on, move on, move on. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. This one is getting into a bunch of things. Relationship OCD, dealing with difficult people, being disciplined by God. I can already see the distortions happening here. Okay, I can already see them, but let's dig in and let's see where it goes. I have been clinically diagnosed with OCD, a high functioning person, but it's gotten worse as I've aged. I'm in my 40s. I'm a Christian and a mental health therapist. And a lot of the psychological things you speak on, I know of. My patterns of thinking and behaviors have become more pronounced to me over the last year and a half. I thought I was, and she put in quotes, healed from past trauma. Now, you're a therapist. You know it doesn't work like that. I'm just completely healed from that past trauma. It's in layers. The stuff is in layers. It's not just like I'm healed. Even if you feel like, oh, I see a good, there may be times in the future where sometimes it wants to spike again. It's okay. It's okay. You have tools you keep working through. And then I got into a relationship that I'm still in after 6 years of being divorced and single, and my OCD kicked all over again, but this time relationally. Yes, it's very, very common that OCD rises up during new opportunities of relationship or seasons of transition or things that are traumatic. Why? Because OCDers respond to life with perfectionism. That's how they respond to stressors too. They respond to stressors with, I got to get this just right. I got to think just right. I got to navigate this just right. They live under a lot of pressure. So, okay, my OCD kicked all over, but this time relationally, this relationship has been damaged by my behaviors. Okay, so your overthinking or your compulsiveness and your spinning is taking a toll on the other person. This relationship has been damaged by my behaviors. I've sincerely asked my partner, she's using the word partner. I'm setting the alarm on the word partner. You're the boyfriend or girlfriend, you're engaged, or you're husband and wife. Let's make it, that helps, right? And that may sound like I'm being black and white, but I want to help y'all be clear. These partner, vague terms. This is vague terms. This taken, And back in the day, it used to mean, if you said partner, it meant somebody you were in business with. It was a business partner. Then the LGBTQ community took it. And now it's this vague thing that just doesn't, it isn't a nebulous thing. It doesn't mean anything. It's very, very non-committal. So let's take partner. Every time I hear that now, I'm going to whip out the foghorn. I'm going to wake you all up. I've asked my partner to forgive me now. I know it's been exhausting. Yeah, so that has to sober you up to go, hey, I've got to deal with my compulsive patterns. I've come to a place that I know therapy has been instrumental in my journey, have been on and off throughout the years, but my spiritual life has, okay, so don't look at therapy and your spiritual life as separate. It's all, as you're working through your journey, it's all together. It's not therapy and then God. It's like, yeah, I'm learning in all things how to renew my thinking and how to renew my patterns. But my spiritual life has suffered a lot because of my mental health. I'm so thankful to the Lord I found your channel. In the last few months, I've humbled myself before the Lord, crying out for help and declaring I cannot fix my relationships, be it from my own doings or from the family relationships I was born into. The damage is done. But one thing I'm aware of, difficult people have always been a part of my life. It's a theme. This has exacerbated my anxiety and OCD thinking, although some of it is my fault, but some of it is not. So I get a sense here that you see difficult relationships in your like toxic people in your life, and everybody has to deal with toxic people. So we have to understand that. And sometimes we can go, oh, there's something really wrong with me because I tend to have all these, relationship patterns. I think it's helpful to do some internal, what's going on in me that keeps these people around? I think that's helpful. But sometimes we can also spiral and like, oh, there's something really wrong with me. And realizing there's a lot of toxic, goofy people in the world. And we have our own goofiness. But anyway, you said, thinking of some of it's my fault. Relationships that are looking for fault is not going to lead to healthy places. Who do I blame? When we get into a blame fault mentality in life, it empowers shame. It doesn't let us heal. Now we do that naturally in life, but it's understandable. But it doesn't lead to insight. It doesn't lead to healing. Okay, so either way, I repent of my contribution. How does someone like myself, a sufferer of relational OCD and just regular OCD, continue to exist in a relationship with challenging personalities? So I don't know, is this with your, I don't, because I'm kind of, the person you're dating or just relationships in general? I can't sever my relationship with my teenage daughter. So why is it, okay, first of all, yeah, right. You want to maintain relationship with your teenage daughter, but why are you going to sever? Why are you going to severing? That the healthy step means you sever. That's very black and white thinking. That in order for me to deal with toxic people, I have to completely sever any, if they have any signs of it. It's usually severing is sometimes like a last resort where you've done everything you feel you can and you have to move on. So yeah, no. You're not going to sever your relationship with your teenage child. I've damaged that relationship with my anxiety, and now she's an angry teenager, and I can't blame her. Well, allow that to sober you. If your kids are acting up, and you see what your influence has been, let that sober you, because you're a powerful voice in your child's life. So, mother and father are the most powerful voices in a human being's life. It just is. There's no other voice that's more powerful on this planet as far as humans are concerned. So anyways, your teenage child, I can't sever my relationship with my mom. So why are you going to sever? You're presenting to me the option is only severing or just letting all the toxicity hit your life. It sounds to me like you're needing to learn boundaries too. And boundaries are something that need to be learned and developed. So sever my relationship with my mom. She's older now and the main source of my mental health issues. Okay, if it's that bad, you need some boundaries with your mom. And especially if you're an adult, which if you're filling out this form, you are an adult. So you're going to need some work and boundaries here. I'm in a relationship with a partner who is now resentful, critical, impatient, and thinks I have bad intentions in our relationship as a result of the OCD behaviors I've demonstrated all throughout our relationship. So everything you're sharing with me needs to be led to sobriety, that your life impacts people, and see how it impacts people. Now, many times we go into shame. Oh, I'm such a terrible person. Oh, I'm just so, and we have to get a little like, wake up, get out. You're drunk right now. You're drunk on pity. You're drunk. Get out of that. Get out of that. Wake up and see. Your daughter needs you. Wake up and see. Now, your mother, God tells us to leave father and mother. So that relationship needs a shift and change. There could be a lot of guilt and codependency around that. And the person you're dating here is telling you, hey, this is taking a toll on me. And let that be an awakening of, I gotta walk a healing journey. I need to really start working on how my compulsive patterns are impacting my relationships. So behaviors I've demonstrated throughout my like some of your compulsions are worrying about infidelity because my previous relationship had that. Yeah, some of that is OCD. Some of that is healing through past pain. not trusting, controlling what he does. Yes, OCDers are highly controlling, and it takes them a while to even see the control factor. The majority of OCDers do not see their control issues at first because they're just so wrapped up in whatever they're spinning about. It actually takes a while to realize you're super controlling. Checking his moods, questioning if I'm loved. So you're also needy. You're compulsively needy in the relationship. And I'm choosing to stay in this relationship despite his animosity towards me and because he claims he still loves me. Well, is animosity to you because he's just a toxic person, or has he had to deal with you and deal with your obsessiveness? Okay. By the way, I'm talking to you as a female. And so if you're dating a guy, I'm kind of looking at it in that context because I don't know that you told me if you're a male or a female, but just kind of the way that you're. Anyways, because it doesn't look like you put your actual name, and even your name, I'm not sure. Anyway, choosing to state it is. Yeah, because he loves him. Okay, so you're talking about him. All right. Yes. Okay, I think I straightened myself out. Okay. I'm choosing to stay in this relationship because despite his animosity towards me, okay. Sorry, I got lost in a little brain loop there. Because he claims he still loves me, I don't believe this is an attack from Satan, although I am sure he throws obstacles as much as I am starting to believe that I'm reaping what I have sown. Okay, now you're getting into like a judgmental kind of thing that's not going to sober you up either. You have negative behaviors, anger, untrusting, anxious. I think I'm being disciplined by God. All right, this is where you're getting off track. It's not, all this stuff isn't sobering. I'm being disciplined by God. I'm disobedient. I'm Jonah. And, it just sends you out into the stratosphere rather than just letting you see soberly, hey, this is a time and season to really look at growing and how you relate. That's really what this is about. And a relationship OCDers need a good dose of sobriety. They're drunk on their obsessions. They're drunk on their spinning. And we got to sober up to it. And I did, to realize, wow, I'm so self-consumed and so not aware that this has been about me and how I feel and what I need to, and I need to learn what love is. I need to get out of this and out of myself and see how my life affects other people. Things said then done that now I seem to fix. You said, been hearing my teachings on this. I'm learning. How do I remain in a relationship with difficult people that I cannot sever from because it's a family member or teenager or an unforgiving partner by choice without it exacerbating my mental health condition of OCD? You're putting me into a question that I don't think is necessarily the question. You're telling me, how do I remain in what I'm doing or cut them off? Those are the options you're giving me. And I'm saying neither. It's not about just remaining in the way things are or severing. That's not going to solve much. It's about you actually going, okay, my life has affected people. I can't control them. I need to start working on these OCD patterns in how I relate. I got to start starving compulsions. I got to learn how to relate in new patterns. I really need to soberly take steps, and it's going to take me a bit. And just like you would say to somebody that you were giving therapy to, you would share many of these things with them as well too. How can I do this as someone who loves God and His Son Jesus without removing myself from everyone? Your options are very, very narrow. And I tell people, when you get stuck in this kind of A and B, black and white kind of thing, it's usually looking for C. And the option C is you working on your obsessive compulsive patterns and allowing that to be healing. Because everything you've shared with me is it's looking at them, but I want to look at you with a new lens and go, okay, your daughter's had the effect of it. That needs some healing. Your boyfriend has effect on that. Are you guys looking to get married? Is you looking to move forward? It's time to change patterns of how you're relating. I say they are difficult because they also have anger issues, resentment, impatience, and critical spirits. Not looking to blame anyone. just need some direction on how to coexist, move forward, and love these people I love without losing my mind. So I think I've given a good share of feedback on that. Let me take a little dance break for just a moment. All right, so we're going to get into intrusive thoughts that have a fear of cheating. Hey, Mark, I want to start off by saying you've truly helped me a lot in my ROCD journey. I found you at my worst OCD obsession ever, but today I'm doing way better thanks to you. Although I'm doing way better, I have days where I don't feel the best. Such language of the perfectionism of OCD. It's like something's wrong here because I'm doing better, but I have struggling days. So got to make room for that. It's life. It's okay. I have been in a relationship with my boyfriend. Thank you, sister. Not this partner. I did something. Okay. I'm in a relationship with my boyfriend for 3 years. 3 years. 3 years. What do you need to figure out at this point now? Like what needs to 3 years? Goodness. You can pay off a car in 3 years, you know? It's that's like, what else is there to figure out? Time to move forward. Move this into engagement and marriage. Make it happen, Captain. So here's your struggle. I truly struggle with the fear of cheating on him. So in glancing through this, I'll read through it fully. The issue is not cheating. It's you're afraid of that thought. So you're afraid of yourself. So then you insert that into so many areas of interactions in your life. So it distorts things. Okay. So you may need to rewind what I just said and play it back again. Let it sink in what I just shared with you here. At the beginning of our relationship, I did something my boyfriend did not agree with, and he wanted to break up with me, but I thank God that he stayed and gave me another chance. Now, I don't know what that is, so I'm just going to move on. Ever since, I am very hypervigilant. For example, when I'm interacting with a guy, I always focus on if I'm being too nice or if I have a feeling of attraction, was I being nice for that reason? You're compulsively checking yourself while you're talking to somebody. And that's what OCDers do. They're in their head. They have, you can sometimes see it when I'm talking to them. There's this slight, they're not really paying attention. They're in their head. They're in their thoughts. And what you're doing is in your head examining yourself. Did I say this? This guy's kind of handsome. Did I just look at him? I laughed. I laughed at something he said. Does that mean I was flirting? Did I mean, wait. I looked at his, no, I saw his smile. Oh, did I just check him out? That's what it does. Maybe I love him. Oh no, did I just do this because he's hot? I don't know. I always care about what thoughts come in and what I say. About 7 months ago, I had an encounter with a guy at customer service. I have a number of people I've worked with who they work at the counter at something, at a bank or as a cashier, or they work in a sales department, or work in in a reception area, and they have to work through that, or they work in a cubicle, and somebody attractive walks by. Oh my goodness, I don't know, maybe I like them, maybe, I notice his physique, he's got big muscles. I noticed her features. I noticed, they looked attractive. Oh no. And they start spinning about it. I was simply making a return at a store, and I truly regret walking in there until this day. So why are you regretting walking in? It's because of the interpretation. The interpretation is because you noticed him in a certain way, or you had a thought, and because of that, you're doomed. So we gotta fire the interpreter over that moment. You're simply making a return. So you're interpreting it in a distorted way. I had a very bad, malicious thought of flirting with this guy or being very friendly towards him behind my boyfriend's back. So you created this whole scenario in your mind from an intrusive thought. And as I was having this thought, I remember I was being very nice to this guy because he was very friendly and kind. So isn't it nice that people are friendly and kind when you're returning something? Oh, goodness. I love it. I love kindness when people in customer service are helpful. You know, I can't stand when I have to get firm and I have to start being harsh. You know, I've had to do that too much in this past 2 months, even with our bathroom problems where they did the job wrong. And then you have to go, let me talk to your supervisor. And I'm like, I hate doing it. And I'm like, why does it have to get to this point where I have to like start yelling and stuff to get you to just take action? Anyways. So I say all that to say, you had a nice interaction. That's what it is, a nice interaction. But your obsessiveness turns it into, oh my goodness, maybe I love him. Maybe I did this. I was flirting, and I did this thing, and I do it before. So it's what you're going to do is you're going to create problems out of nothing. So you take that thought and let it float on through. I just had an interaction with somebody at customer service. That's all it was. Moving on. And until this day, I replay that encounter over and over again. So you're ruminating over it. I remember feeling guilty to the point where I felt like I cheated. That's your interpreter, because I'm usually super serious with guys, and this guy, I did not care if I was being nice. Now you're judging yourself distortedly. Your emotions are all over the place in inaccurate ways. It really felt wrong because I had a bad thought. I have had constant rumination about what were my true intentions. For 2 months, I built false memory on. So this thing is just cascading into more and more and more and more. So you're going to need to walk through the OCD healing journey materials and walk through renewing your distortions. And in that moment, we all have moments of interacting with attractive people. And you're going to have to learn how to be able to do that. You're going to have to learn how to go to customer service, and there's a good-looking person you bump into, and you go, wow, that person was good-looking. You know, and that's all it needs to be. Well, I had a nice interaction. That's all it needs to be. So you're spiraling more and more and more. You're catastrophizing, and maybe believe I suppressed the memory and I had to break up with my boyfriend. I just want to ask you. I want to hear your advice. How can I begin to just have a thought and not think? It's not think because I was smiling in the midst, I acted on it. How can I separate these two? It takes renewal and it takes practice. You're going to need to go through my videos, though, because I teach on this and talk about it pretty extensively. But this is a common problem that people have in OCD. So next one's about some discernment. Can relationship OCD be present in a toxic and or healthy relationship? So can it be in a toxic one and a healthy one? Yeah. You can have relationship OCD and be with an amazing person. Yeah. And you can have relationship OCD and be with a person that's not great. Yeah. I've struggled with many subtypes of OCD, but my relationship OCD has remained most prevalent. Within every relationship, I've shown signs of ROCD, but all my previous ones were very toxic with either narcissistic and manipulative tendencies, a lot of which confused my discernment. Now, here's what I'll say. I know you say all that, but OCDers, in my experience, even your reflection on past relationships, just be aware you may overshoot your diagnosis of them. You know, so I'll sit down with somebody who's OCD and they're like, yeah, I did that person. They were a narcissist. Oh, okay. Tell me about them. And it's like, okay, yeah, I don't know that I see narcissism. Because OCDers, we can overshoot, right? Because we can catastrophize things. You know, I was in a relationship with this person and they were, sociopathic. Okay, well, tell me about. Okay, I don't know that that's sociopathic. I think it's just immature, and so just be aware of that. I'm not saying that that's absolutely true about this. Just be aware, because sometimes we can see things in a catastrophic way. So you say it confused your discernment between what was genuine red flags or OCD. I excused a lot of the behavior with the relationship OCD label. Now, looking back, I don't know if what I struggled with was OCD or my God-given discernment. I'm in a healthy, loving relationship without manipulation. and can't help but feel as though these anxious feelings are actually a warning from God because every other relationship has failed. That's a distorted story that's gotten locked in. So you have pain from past relationships, and that's now rising up in a relationship that's good, but you have that same fire alarm going off. The fire alarm gets hijacked. So it's telling you, danger, get out of here. Danger, danger, get out of here. But you're confused because you're like, I'm in a good relationship. So is this something that God's telling me, and you need help on your God lens? And most Christians do. Most Christians need a renovation, I think, of what they say this is God speaking. We throw God at a lot of things. And I can't decipher between discernment and OCD. When you have OCD, it wants to get into everything. You need a new relationship with your thoughts and get out of throwing the God label on stuff. I'm discerning something. Like, just let that pressure go. That you have to discern all the time and hear this direction from God. Instead, go, okay, this is OCD. I feel this disturbance. I feel like I got to follow it. I compulsively do this loop. And instead, I'm going to face the fear, step up to it, and learn not to keep listening to the same fear that's just over and over again leading me into unhealthy patterns. Okay, and I will try to tell myself it's just OCD, but then I hear a voice that says, yeah, if you hear a voice, hear a voice. It doesn't have to mean anything. I hear a voice that says, what if it's not OCD, though? That's classic OCD. Yeah, but what if? What if you don't have OCD at all? What if you're not real? What if the world isn't real? What if this is all just a dream? I mean, these yeah, but what ifs can go into all kinds of places, which creates this incessant fear that I'm ignoring God's warning. Yes, you have a conditioning that when fear rises, it's God, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy. God's not giving you a spirit of fear. He's giving you power, love, and a sound mind. So you're going to need some reteaching and relearning on what you attribute to being God. So one of the things that ROCDs spin about is compatibility. Yeah, maybe I'm not compatible with this. Maybe I don't know. Am I? I'm battling ROCD and scrupulosity. I'm in my first relationship and trying to be patient with myself for what I know and don't know. Throughout the relationship, I had beliefs that I have had to realize were wrong. Like, I thought it was okay to see old crushes as old friends, and I used to have more guy friends, but I've had to let them go because of past histories, having not understood how this might have been inappropriate. Because of this, I've scrutinized most of my differing opinions from my partner. Oh, goodness. And I found it hard to hold disagreements. Yeah. So your when disagreement happens, you want to get out of there. And that's an avoidance thing. And OCDers, they avoid conflict. They avoid uncomfortable conversations. They avoid working through things. So I don't know the appropriate times to stand up for my opinions. And a theme of mine is having not been totally, completely honest, being a sinner. I don't know what that means. I'm a bit more laid back in the movies I watch, my sense of humor, etc. So is that the sinner part? I don't know. While my boyfriend cares a lot more about it and is bothered by it. We both are looking at marriage. That's awesome. But as he is worried about our compatibility, so he's spinning about compatibility. He doesn't want me acting this way, even when he's not around. So get some feedback. Get some relational feedback. Go to like a pastor or a counselor and get some feedback. Is this too uptight? Is this, and figure out a way to work through it. Because maybe, because oftentimes we're often come together for somebody who's a bit of an opposite. Maybe he will help bring some good value enhancement to your life. And maybe you can loosen him up. And maybe he's too uptight. And if you have good conversations, you can kind of both get recalibrated. So you're looking to get married, so get some marriage counseling. I think that could be very helpful. And if he's like, you have to act this way when I'm not around, that's a bit controlling, like even the thought of that. Like, I don't think like, Melissa, I need you to act this way when I'm not around. Like, eesh, that's controlling. Maybe he's legalistic and he's got control issues too. And maybe he's OCD just as much as you might be. This is tricky for me because he is not wrong for disliking these things. Like what? The movies you watch? Or your sense of humor? Like you get like, your jokes get too far? Are you funny? If you have you're saying inappropriate jokes, but are you funny? Because if you're not funny, that makes it even worse. Like my daughter has a really good sense of humor. She'll say some stuff and I'll go, wow, that was funny. That was really good. Anyway, he's not wrong, and I'm all right with changing my behaviors. Okay, so you're realizing I got some issues and ways that I act and stuff, but I also still have a hard time understanding what the big deal is. If from a moral standpoint, I'm a bit more in the wrong. How do I navigate the balance of being who I am versus being better than what I am? Well, relationship and marriage, moving to marriage, is not about changing the other person. In fact, don't marry somebody going, they're gonna change when we get married. Nope, accept them right where they're at, and don't try to change them, because that creates a lot of problems. Let's talk about getting over a past relationship. Hi, Mark. In the past year, I was pursuing a relationship with a girl that ended up not working out. She didn't have the same feelings I had for her and rejected me. All right. I'm still dealing with the pain of the rejection. I still frequently daydream and fantasize interacting with her and winning her over. All right. So you're still not over it yet. So you're in the journey of that. In my head, I know I have God's love, acceptance, and approval, but I've been struggling to feel that way, which is why I'm still hurt about not getting this girl's acceptance and approval. There are sometimes I don't even care about God's acceptance and approval because I'm really focused on earning this girl's approval. Yeah, you're in a addict kind of consuming obsession about it, like that in the term I used at the beginning of this broadcast, obsession in the way of like, oh, I just still want her. I want to be with her. You're still tied in that kind of way. Now, just so you know, if you slept with her, it takes longer to get over it. Just so y'all know, because when you sleep together, you create a tie that's very strong. And Paul had to teach the church that in Corinthians, when he was talking about them sleeping around and stuff like, hey, so that's going to make it more difficult. There are some times I don't even care about God's. I don't know. Like, what does that even mean? I don't care about his approval because I just want this girl's approval. It's just more like this girl is consuming your thinking. So it's a little bit difficult to think about God because you're consumed with this girl's thinking. Everybody goes through things like that. If somebody is mad at you and you're struggling with the feeling that they're mad at you and you want them to like you, you're like, I can't even feel that God likes me because I'm so consumed with it. It's like, yeah, we all go through that. It's okay. It's okay. I'm trying to move on and go on dates with other girls, but they just don't compare to the girl that I like. Nothing compares to you, baby. I feel like I'll never meet another girl like her again. Yeah, you say I just feel hopeless. You sound like a hopeless romantic. You have an unhealthy tie. So you're going to need a good sobering. Sober up. It's time to take some steps forward. So when you catch yourself daydreaming and fantasizing, redirect. It's not happening. I got to move forward with my life because it's unloving to yourself to keep staying in this and keep staying in this and keep staying in this. Can you offer any guidance how to heal from it? Yes, what I just shared. What about unequally yoked engagement? Hi, Mark. My fiance and I are planning our wedding in September. Oh, that's coming up. Yeah, send me some pictures. I'm a believer and he used to be, but walked away around his late teens. Okay. We're now both in our 30s. I'm assuming he's come back to God. His parents believe that I will be a piece of his return to the Lord. I don't know. Like, I don't like that equation. A piece of his, like, that you're going to like help him return to the Lord. So he walked away in his teens and he hasn't come back. He's willing to go to church with me and supports my belief. It's a pretty good relationship overall. I'm recovering from scrupulosity and past religious trauma. And this unequally yoked thing is just really causing a ton of shame, condemnation, and guilt. Well, what you're sharing with me, he's not a believer. So I have to, when people say, well, if I have ROCD, do I just ignore everything and move forward? No, that's not what I'm saying. One of them is, if you're a believer or you're a believer and the other person isn't, I would say, don't move forward. Now, I know you got a wedding coming up, so I might be ruining all the you probably have the cake ordered and everything. But listen, here's the thing I've learned about. Here's the thing I learned about people when they get married. Now, this will mess up our OCDers. So many of you are going to take me the wrong way. But a lot of times when people get married, typically people are just going to do what they're going to do. The people that are spinning about, is this the right one that's right? Like, they need to move forward. It's the people who they're not spinning and they're not taking in warnings. Like, I've been like, oh, guys, this is not good. This is not good. But then as a pastor over the years, I started to turn into Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory. Remember, and not any of the newer ones, the old one from the 70s, where Willy Wonka, the kid wants to go in the chocolate. He wants to have some of the chocolate. And Willy Wonka's like, no, stop, don't. Like, he's already over it. Why? Because he's saying it, but he knows the kid is just going to go jump in the chocolate river and get sucked into the tube, right? And so after time, like I said, our OCDers, they're spinning and they need to just move forward. Then there's the ones that you've been told and they go, they just do what they're going to do. So I want to be connected to God's children, other believers, but when I share our mismatched belief, like, this is a clear thing. This is not like, oh, his nose is too big, or, oh, he doesn't pray as much as I'd like to pray, or he likes the King James and I like the New King James. This is a significant thing. And I know many OCDers go, they spin about, well, maybe I'm mature, mismature, and they get way too distorted on that. You say, I've had instances where they shame me, guilt me. I get this is out of God's will speech. I'm really struggling with how to walk forward knowing I'm free to do this and still be loved by God. It's not that you're free to make choices. God loves you. He's not going to go, oh, I don't love you anymore because you married this person. But just know you're marrying somebody, and it's unequally yoked. You're marrying somebody who's not going to be a spiritual leader. So you're going to have problems down the road. And I would get some good counsel to make that clear. From what you shared from me, that's one thing I would say in the midst of this. Don't marry a clear unbeliever. It's just it's anyway. Let's talk about some anxiety with the opposite sex. I think I got some of that and jealousy and stuff like that going on here. Maybe a question on STDs, attraction. Yeah, I got a few more, and I've done a bunch already. So this is quite productive today. Although if I just do one or two, it doesn't mean I'm not productive. Let me just check my. You know what? Let me take a dance break. I got to check something. I'll be right back.
And I just rap because say, under the blood, me say me under the blood. Under the blood, me say me under the blood. Jesus cover me under the blood. Under the blood, me say me under the blood. Jesus, you will cover me under the blood. In the morning when me wake up, and the blood that Jesus me take up. And when me feel like me, I go break up. Put the blood on me face just like a makeup. In the morning when me wake up, and the blood that Jesus me take up. And when me feel like me heart break up, put the blood on me face just like a makeup. Under the blood, under the blood, Jesus cover me. Jesus, you will cover me. Say, under the blood. Under the blood. Jesus, you will cover me. Jump on bass. Listen. Christian fight some things with them not see. Stronghold demons and principality. Remember they are the temple. Keep it holy, sanctify, justify, give God the glory. Fighting against three terrible enemy. The world, Satan and myself against me. What the anointing, pour it on me and make me trample the devil on it. Say, under the blood. Under the blood. Jesus cover me. No. You want to hear it? Drum and bass. Drum and bass, listen.
I just love it. I just love it. I just love it. I just love it. It's the best. So somebody wrote in the comment section, I may have a little fun with this in maybe Sunday Night Live. Somebody wrote in the comment section, they're being fun about it, that he's not saying jump on bass, that he's saying drums and bass. Saying drums and bass. Drums and bass. Drums on bass, jump on bass, drums on bass, jump on bass. It's like it's like Laurel and what was that one that they had years ago? Like, what's it saying? So I may put it to a vote. Is he saying jump on bass or is he saying drums and bass? And I've got it in my head. It's jump on bass, so it's stuck there. But I replied. I said, "Isn't it more fun to hear jump on bass?" So the question I was going to do actually was a repeat, and so I went. Wait a second. It was the question was submitted again, and it got stuck in the pile. So it's all right. Let me get into retroactive jealousy. Hi, Mark. You've helped me a lot. I've recently started to have issues with retroactive jealousy. My wife of 20 years, congratulations on 20 years, by the way. That's awesome. Told me a lot of stuff before I proposed to her. I didn't like what I heard. But at the time, I told myself I was a Christian and that forgiveness is what I'm about and pushed it out of my mind. So forgiveness isn't like pushing it out of your mind. Forgiveness is like letting love happen and taking time and processing. And when people share their past, I think it's important to recognize, okay, just because there's things that you've done, that doesn't mean that's who you are, number one. Number two, grace and forgiveness and God's mercy is here. And who are you now? Who are you wanting to be now in your process? Because we all have stuff in our past and our history that's not, the greatest stuff. So but it takes practice, and perfectionists have can get stuck on certain things like this. Well, it's your past. So I get the feeling the stuff that you said I forgave, because you're like, I gotta forgive, push it out of my mind. That it doesn't work like that. It's more like slowly processing through. Okay, all right. And so anyway, let me get back to what you wrote here. She is an awesome wife and I love her. So what's the problem? But the problem is affecting me very badly now. I'm so angry that this is surfacing so many years later. So let's bring the anger down. Don't be angry. This is surfacing. It's probably bubbling to the surface because of the way you relate to flaws that's being opened up. It's not about her past. It's about how you relate to those kind of imperfections or flaws or sins, that this is an opportunity to work through healing. I was a virgin when I met her. I've realized that the problem is with me, and have repented to God for being prideful and self-righteous, for thinking being pure made me deserve one thing or another. Okay, so I'm assuming your wife told you about sexual history she had, and you were like, that's fine, you're trying to be forgiving. This is a sign of perfectionism, though, Christian perfectionism. It's coming up later, and this is a time in your life, even though it's 20 years later, where perfectionism is being addressed in your life. And you're right, it's not about her. It's about some of the patterns of thinking because perfectionists are like, I do the right thing. I do the right thing. They get angry with God. They get angry with life. They get angry with people because they're like, I've done the right thing and here's where I'm at. And so we can often move into the position of the elder brother. You know the story of the lost son? Most of you watching this broadcast, you're in the story of the lost son. Many of you you're the older brother. You're the other brother, right? You haven't necessarily seen the lost son version of yourself. You see the elder brother, like we're throwing a party for him for. I do what's right, So all that kind of stuff is popping up for you, and it's all right. So don't get angry. I'm not gonna say don't get angry. Anger is just, it pops up. Don't feed the anger. Allow yourself, you're going through a new level of healing of how you see your wife. You're actually, I believe the next 20 years can be a very powerful renewal in how you see your wife, and your next level of love is what's available here. I even find myself wishing I would have lived differently in my youth. And now you're compulsively going way back into history, and I feel terrible because it's like I didn't do things for the right reasons, but I am still having a lot of trouble and don't know what to do. I don't know if I have had anything hit me so hard before. I'm trying to get moved past this, but I don't know if I will ever be the same again. Okay, it's not about, I got to get past it. You're going to walk through it, okay? And you're catastrophizing this. I don't know if I'll ever be the same again. Okay, that's making it nuclear. We don't need to make it nuclear, okay? You can walk through this. Since I saw your talk on relationships today, I thought I'd throw this at you. I think this is the hardest thing I've ever written. Thanks, man. You can get through this. You can walk through this. But as those memories approach, okay, so you're talking to your wife, and you have a thought of her like sleeping with somebody else, right? Or something that she told you about her history. And you take that thought and you just let it gently float through. I don't need to feed that. Oh, look at that thought there. Oh, but it makes me feel dirty and angry. No, maybe I feel like I should. No, you and your wife she's a new person, and she's learning from this, and you're learning how to love her in a whole new way. 20 years, you got this far. So it's a new season of learning at a new level, how to be loving towards her. But guess what? You're going to learn how to love her better through how you love yourself in this. And when those thoughts arise, you just lovingly go, oh, it's all right. It's all right. That happened. Okay, this is what it is. Or whether it did happen or didn't happen, or it's imaginary or whatever, that doesn't matter. Okay? Okay, just lovingly let that thought just float on through and redirect yourself back to, what does love say? And what love says for you in this situation is it says, I'm going to learn how to love in the midst of imperfections that I see or I'm being alerted to. Because right now your alert system is trying to figure out, I got to solve this. So in one sense, perfectionists go, I got to solve this by doing the right thing. I forgive you, I forgive you, I forgive you. And maybe at that time, you didn't just take a little bit of time and space to go, okay, wow, all right, I'm learning something new about you here, and just kind of taking it in, right? Maybe you just rushed to doing like the right Jesus thing, and you need a little bit more time. Maybe, I'm not saying you did. And now there's another layer of your relationship is going to go to a deeper level. So keep me posted, because I believe this can be a great opportunity for your marriage. Let's see here. Let's get to the STD one. What was this one about again? A few years ago, I relapsed on drugs and alcohol. Okay. During that moment, I made a series of self-destructive choices, which I always did when I was under the influence, in which the result was an STD. Since then, my healing journey has brought me to your ministry, as well as growth in my mental and spiritual life. However, I now have this thing which makes me feel physically tainted, damaged, and hopeless for a woman to fall in love with, let alone want to marry me. It sucks to constantly have this looming over me like a dark fog that doesn't allow me to even want to talk to someone, because I feel like they're going to reject me when I tell them about this physical malady. Now, you didn't say what kind of STD, not that that matters. I mean, it does, but with any sexual sin of any kind, there's a shame level. And the Bible talks about when we sin sexually, we sin against our own bodies. There's a heavier sense of shame that hits us on a physiological level. And so that's why when many of you think about your sexual past or sexual mistakes, there can often be a trigger of shame that hits us and can make these areas more challenging. And so you have a layer of this where now some type of virus or some type of STD is a reminder of the shame of that lifestyle. And you're healing and working through it. The shame is really the key here. Now, what your future relationship looks like, what those steps look like, is not the issue I'm addressing here. What I'm saying is I want to encourage you to work on the shame umbrella of how you see yourself. And that's going to take time. It's going to take work. I would encourage you, go to my topics page and click on that topics button and go down to the shame one, the shame subject, and watch everything in that. Slowly, let it take your time. Go into shame attacks. Go into how you see yourself. The end result will be not that you go around confessing everyone, hey, how are you doing? My name is Robert. I have an STD. Just want to let you know. That's not what healing looks like. But the healing journey is as you grow in relationship with somebody, even if it's not dating, it's or that pathway. It's like even friendships. Hey, just let you know this is what I got going on, and this is what I'm, navigating through. Without it being like that makes me unlovable. As the more we get free from it, the more we're able to see our past the way we need to see it, and take steps forward where you're honest with people that you love. And I'm not an expert on STDs and treatment of that, what that looks like in the future, if that's something that can be treated where you no longer have it. But I'm talking about the emotional, spiritual aspect of lovingly looking at, compassionately, soberly looking at decisions you made, because I'm assuming you're in some type of recovery work of some kind, working on alcohol and working on drug use and stuff like that, on healing through that. The journey is sobriety. It's not just not using the drug. It's sober, seeing your life the way that you need to see it. Not worse than it is, but not glossing over it. So that's my feedback on that. This is on Atraction. One of the things you mention you can obsess about when it comes to dating is, am I really attracted to this person? If you actually know you're not, but really want to be because you're such good friends, should you date them? I heard attraction can grow, but as someone who struggles with OCD, not sure if this is smart to walk into. I think you're overanalyzing the relationship to begin with. Yes, many romantic relationships can often start off as friends. And that's ideally, that's what I like to encourage people in, is out of their friendship community, a dating relationship sparks up where you're like, yeah, it didn't see it as that, but then that sparked up over time. Because then you got a chance to get to know the person, just kind of being themselves. The dating world, there's a lot of pressure on that. There's like the dating apps and stuff like that today. I'm not against it. I'm just saying it's challenging because you're meeting each other on the premise of I'm interested in getting married and dating, versus when you're in a friendship community, you grow with somebody over time, and then you're I'd see this happen in church all the time, where two people just served on the same ministry team together, and over time they're just like, hey, want to go for coffee? Want to get, and it blossomed into something, right? So I think you're reading into something heavily. Let the friendship world grow, and don't feel like you have to have I don't know, I'm kind of attracted, but not. I think you're hyper analyzing your attraction. Am I really, really attracted? Am I really attracted? Am I not? I don't know. Am I attracted right now? Am I attracted to this person right now? Let me check. Am I? I don't know. All right, last one, and then I'll also check check for any super chats, and I'll breeze through the live questions to see if there are any that are there. Let me see. Last one here. I think this is more about compulsive checking of your feelings, which is a common compulsion. How do I feel? Do I love this person? How do I feel? How do I feel? Mark, I've watched a lot of stuff of yours, especially a few months ago when I was doing my own spiraling in my relationship at the beginning. That was like 6 months ago, and I've been doing better about not worrying about, is she the one?
Is she the one?
Okay. Having said that, I may prove otherwise here. I'm not trying to look for signs anymore. I'm not trying to get a desperate answer from the Lord, but I'm definitely still really looking at how I feel. Okay, you're on your journey. It's all right. You're working this thing out. I don't see any alarm bells here. I hang on obsessively to my dad's advice on the matter. as he and my mom are one of the few couples I see having a loving, healthy relationship. Okay, but does your dad understand OCD? Because he may not. And so that there are times where his feedback may be unhelpful. Just letting you know, not trying to throw your dad under the bus at all. He says when you know you're with the right one, you won't want to be with anyone else. Sorry, Dad. That's just not true. That's just not true. Especially for people that have emotional shifts and changes. You get committed relationship, you look around, you could get a coffee at Starbucks and look at the girl that's on the counter and go, maybe I should be with her. I feel attracted to her right now. So anyways, your dad says you'd rather want to be with her even when you're with your other friends. Yes, but when you have compulsive issues and mental health battles, it doesn't necessarily go like that. I had been pretty confident in my relationship and pretty confident that I was in love with her. I'm laughing because I was thinking about the relationship advice my dad was giving me. This is embarrassing, but this is how it was. So I'm in the midst of my spinnies. I'm like breaking up. You're there. I'm just all over the place, And at the time, I was living with my parents. I'd lived in an apartment rented, and then I had to move back home because my roommate couldn't renew. I couldn't afford to live by myself just yet. So I was trying to figure out the next step. Eventually, I was going to buy a condo. I didn't know that at the time. So I was living with my parents, and they could see the stuff I'm going through and stuff, and it's pretty obvious. So my dad's in the backyard, and I'm just telling him, I don't know. I think I told him something that happened with a girl, maybe a breakup or something like that. And he's like, Mark, do like a fish. Like what? He's like, do like a fish. And he starts running around the yard. I think he had like a rake with him or something. And he's like, do like a fish, just like this, going around, everywhere, here, there. Do like, go to this hook, go over to this hook, go over this hook. Do like a fish. And I'm like, thanks, Dad. Thanks, appreciate that. And I'm like, he's right. I'm just all over the place. Just no stability. But that was the extent of the dad counsel that I got. Anyways, so I got distracted by that intrusive thought. I've been pretty confident in my relationship and pretty confident that I was in love with her. My girlfriend and I are in a long distance relationship. Okay. In some ways that can be good. Some ways it can be challenging. It can be good in the sense that you spend a lot of your time talking on the phone or FaceTiming. That can help with some of the physical, not going too far and stuff like that. And it can help you work on communication and work on getting to know each other. So anyway, we met each other at a church meeting a little less than a year ago. So I've visited her twice and she's visited me once. Last when I visited her, I went in to kiss her. Oh, here we go. The scene is about to happen. I went in to kiss her, and she said more or less she didn't want to, even though we've kissed before. I'm her first boyfriend, so I need to give her grace and understanding. But even though we talked about it since we've come back, I haven't felt as confident. Yeah, it's understandable. You went in for it, it didn't happen, and so now you're feeling a little bit like, maybe you're feeling weird about it. It's normal. Let yourself go through this, and maybe have a conversation. Why was she in that place? That's fine. You want to have good, healthy standards in your relationship journey. So anyways, I'm constantly checking now how I'm feeling. So that's your compulsive response to the uncomfortable stage that you went through in your relationship. And so I don't always look forward to talking like I did. If I get a text from her, I'll sometimes have a stomach drop moment and think, oh, maybe that means I don't love her. Maybe I don't even want to talk with her. I'm very needy. And then when I get reciprocation, I get bothered by it. It's wild. I don't like it. This all is the world of OCD, brother. Just what you're sharing here. I've never been in, sorry. I didn't print this one out. I normally print it out a little bigger so it's easier to read through it. This one's the smaller print. Okay. I get bothered by its wild. I don't like it, but what do I do about it? I should mention, though, it's a long-distance relationship. I've never been in one. This is her first relationship, and I'm trying to quit a porn addiction. Okay, so the porn addiction does impact how you do relationship, though. So in this sense, in context, one of the things it will impact is looking for that feeling. Pornography addiction, it programs you to look for a dopamine level in life, and it wires your system. So I would encourage you, work through that. You don't want to carry that into marriage at the same. I'm not telling you don't get married or don't take any steps forward, but don't just think, marriage is going to make. Many people think marriage is going to make pornography go away. No, it doesn't. And I know there can be some withdrawal symptoms with that. Yeah, I'm working through that. I'm okay with this being on your broadcast, but just keep this anonymous. I know my obsession has manifested before in my relationships. I felt like I was walking on eggshells, and my previous girlfriend said they felt the same way. I've never met any girl in a relationship setting like this one, and I don't want to mess it up. That's great. That can be sober, but be aware of your neediness and be aware of your nitpickiness. So you bounce back and forth between the two forms of obsession I'm talking about. Obsession being like neediness, but also obsession of like, am I really in love with her? I don't know. So you have a very anxious, avoidant kind of thing. OCDers ask me about attachment issues, right? Can you talk about attachment issues? And maybe I will. I plan to at some point. But it's really, really simple with OCD, especially this area. There's two kinds of, I know there's others, but anxious and avoidant. And anxious attachment issues, meaning your attachment style has to do with your upbringing, blah, blah, blah. You're more needy, more anxious, more ruminating about the relationship, right? I need you. Then there's the avoidant. The avoidant is like, avoids, it does that. It doesn't bother. I don't need people. Relationship OCDers often have both working at the same time, so it feels very confusing. So on one hand, you're very super needy, and that feeds some of the addict part of things too, versus the healthy aspect of relationship. Could cause you to look for that rush, I got to have this thing, this need. Then also, when you have connection, you push back from it or you disqualify her. So keep taking one step in front of the other, but you need to work on these OCD issues. You wrote this in a while ago, so I'm just getting to it now. So hopefully you'll catch this and see, because I think this will be very, very helpful for your journey. I don't want to mess this up. She's a pastor's kid like I am. Okay, all right. So you both have a lot of unique aspects to your journey of healing. She's much more confident in herself than any other girl I've dated. All right. You got a prize here, bro. You got a prize here, so do the work. Keep walking, keep working through it. I only want to bring healthy things to the relationship. I'm afraid I may make her feel like she's walking on eggshells, and I don't want that. But if I don't get a handle on myself, I'm afraid that she'll get bogged down and want out. There's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure here, okay? Be sober, not under the yoke of pressure. Sober. Sober is like, it's a great girl. This is a great opportunity. Wow. I'm learning how to love. I want to treasure it and let it sober you, so that you gently redirect yourself out of the neediness and out of the am I really in love? I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm with the wrong person. And as you can see, OCD has a real hold on me. Maybe like I have before, these obsessive thoughts are not exactly connected and they don't really make much sense. Maybe I know I've got these issues and I want to handle them well, but I really just don't know how. Again, maybe it's just a flare-up because I've been trying to repent of my lust for a week. And so you're a big repenter over and over, a compulsive repenter. So, okay, you've repented for lust. Okay, work on what drives lust. What drives lust is your performance and your perfectionism. It creates so much stress in you, and lust becomes an outlet to deal with the stress. Let God's unconditional, loving ways as a father love you where you are right now in your journey. And let that love be practiced as you love your girlfriend, as you love yourself, and learn how to be more loving to yourself in your journey. Okay, so that's what's going on. And the pile that I have in front of me is gone, ladies and gentlemen. And so I'll do one last look before I close things out. I'll check the comments, and then we're going to wind down. So EC is telling me it's drum, not drums, right? Drum and bass. I think I'm gonna put that to a vote in Sunday Night Live. I'm gonna put it to a vote. We're gonna have a little fun with it. It's gonna be good. Any other comments happening here? My soundboard cooperated with me today. Somebody said something about this being a DJ thing? Oh, you talking about this sound? This sound here? Yeah. Well, this is, I use a Rodecaster Pro 2. That's the one that gives me all kinds of problems. I'm on my third one. And so yeah, DJs do use it. It's meant for podcasting. It has its issues, and I'm a bit married to it though, because I like the voices, the sound quality of it that I have running through is great. And I haven't been able to find anything that matches it. So I've been on tech support with them for years. Like, guys, you gotta fix this. That's great, John. Maybe your dad was telling you to play a game of Marco Polo. Yes, Paul. Chew like a fish. It's exactly how he said it. Chew like a fish. And then he told me you're just like. There's a guy in church who is he was known as the forever single guy. And he's like, you're just like him. And I'm like, thanks, Dad. I appreciate that. So listen, you can work through this. You can get some healing with it. And I see a bunch of different comments here and see y'all talking to each other. Anyways, this has been great. Awesome. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. We'll be back with more insights for your healing and freedom journey. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, I am out.